Let's talk about the AFC East sleepers, breakouts, and busts right now on Fantasy Football Today in 5. I'm Adam Azer with Jamie Eisenberg. All right, let's talk NFC or AFC East, and who's your favorite sleeper here?
There's actually a lot. You look at this group of receivers, the two guys in Buffalo, I think a lot of people look at Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel. Those two stand out to me. Malachi Corley is another guy that stands out for the Jets. But I'm going to go Demario Douglas with the Patriots. Like the opportunity for him. We're trying to figure out this receiving core, with the additions of Jalen Polk and Javon Baker and Kendrick Bourne coming back healthy, who's going to be the quarterback. I think Douglas is going to be the staple playing in the slot. Hopefully somebody that whether it's Jacoby Brissett or Drake May leans on, and Alex Van Pelt, the offense coordinator, designs plays for. But he showed flashes last year. He was a guy that we almost talked about weekly on the waiver wire show, and I wrote about in the waiver wire column. And someone you could take with a very late round pick, but could absolutely lead the team in targets and be one of these slot receivers that ends up factoring in a 3-receiver league. Probably not somebody that will make a lot of production. Non-PPR could be minimal production in half PPR, but in full PPR, if the quarterback play is better in New England as expected, I like the opportunity for Douglas, especially with his value with a late round pick.
All right, I know when you look at sleepers, typically you want to focus on youth, right? You want some young guys. So I'm going with Aaron Rodgers as my sleeper here. And I'm looking at 3 different websites. ADP, he's QB 20 or later. And I totally get it. But I would take him over. I'd probably take him over Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford. They're going right in front of him. But it's fine. Splitting hairs. I understand. But of all the guys being drafted this late, I mean, he's the only one that I think could win NFL MVP. So I don't have to. You know what the case is for Aaron Rodgers. You can get him super late. He might end up being terrific. Who's your favorite breakout in the AFC East?
Yeah, there's a few candidates. I'll take one of the two of my favorites off the Bills. Kincaid's probably my favorite overall, but I'll go James Cook here just with the opportunity that he has. We saw him really step up when Joe Brady took over as the play caller, and I think that will continue. You've heard me make the case that he's going to be among the league leaders in receptions at running back. He was on pace for over 50 catches last year. I think that takes a step forward simply because of the mouths that are gone in the offense. No Stephon Diggs, no Gabe Davis. Again, we're counting on Curtis Samuel, Quan Alexander. No.
Curtis
Samuel, Khalil Shakir.
Keon Coleman.
I don't know where I got Quan Alexander from. I'm just making up names this week.
But not a Bills wide receiver.
In any event, the receiving core is different. And I think Cook will be the lead rusher, obviously. He may lose some rushing touchdowns to Davis, the rookie from Kentucky. But I still think those opportunities that he'll have career highs across the board. And that's saying something because he was very productive last year, certainly at the end of last season. So I like the opportunity for him. He's somebody that I take in round 2 in full PPR. And you can get him in a lot of cases in round 3. But I'm aggressive in drafting James Cook.
I think Quan Alexander is actually a free agent. He was on the Steelers last year, so maybe he could end up on the Bills. They could need a linebacker.
Where did I get Quan Alexander out of?
I don't know. So there are good young breakout candidates in this division, as Jamie said. Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall obviously jump out. Garrett Wilson's going to take that big step, but I actually will say Breece Hall because even though he finished overall, I think he was RB2 last year, but per game.
Jets fan now?
I know, right? He was something like 6 or 7, but I could see him averaging 23-ish points per game and just having a total stud season. So we'll just take the chalk there with
I just wrote about this. It'll be on the site probably Thursday afternoon, depending on how quickly Dan Schneider turns it around. Shout out to Dan, great editor. Yeah. The 6 running backs who have the best chance to supplant Christian McCaffrey, and he's obviously the top of the list. Year 2 after the ACL, the offensive line upgrades are huge. It factors for Rodgers too, since you're the Jets guy. But they bring in essentially 3 veterans, highlighted by Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. Hopefully they get man, I'm gonna butcher his name again. The guard back, that ruptures Achilles as well. And
Quan Alexander.
I'm struggling with names, getting old. They get their offensive line healthy. That'll be huge for Breece Hall. So he'll lose the receptions. I think that'll be an issue for him because of Rodgers and just throwing the ball down the field. But he should still be around 50 catches. I think 2,000 total yards, 15 touchdowns, and 50 catches is on the table.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, who's the bust in this division?
Yeah, I'm going to go Josh Allen, not because from a play standpoint. I think just from an expectation and, ADP standpoint. Right now we're not seeing the quarterbacks being drafted early in our ADP, but I think we know that's going to be the case once most drafts happen, just because that's the nature of it. So round 1 is probably where Allen's ADP will go, probably early round 2 at the lowest. You're counting on a guy that's been 7, 8 rushing touchdowns for his career, basically on average, spiked to 15 last year. To do that again, I think that's not going to necessarily be the case. So put him closer to 10 at best for me. And then, you lose the production in the passing game. So while I do think that, Quan Alexander / Cleon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, and Curtis Samuel, along with, clearly a breakout candidate in Kincaid, will still play at a high enough level to support Josh Allen being the top 5 quarterback, I don't think he'll be number 1. And I think that's where he's going to draft it.
Yeah, I'm going to have the same bust as you, but also Elijah Vera Tucker. Couldn't think of his name either. Elijah Vera Tucker. That's the guy we were looking for there. I love Josh Allen. I'm not going to take him as QB1. A lot of people are. And that's the AFC East.
I think, though, again, we need to qualify this more. Even like talking to Rich Rebar earlier, 4 points versus 6 points. He's a 4-point guy. I'm
still not taking him QB1.
No, I get that, but it makes more sense to take him QB1 as a 4-point per passing league as opposed to 6.
Yeah, the other guy I thought about maybe as a bust was Devon Achane, because he's going really early, 2nd round ADP for Achane, and the outcomes for him are just who knows. But Mostert is definitely going to have a role. Mostert could be a sleeper. This is a really fascinating division.
You said this. You said this about. I know we're way over longer, but you said this about Jahmyr Gibbs a few weeks ago. If David Montgomery was out of the way, you would consider him first overall, right?
Yeah, I mean it's hard not to take McCaffrey, but yeah,
if Mostert was out of the way, where would you take Achane?
Then I think I would take him like at the 1-2 turn, because I still think they'll limit his touches to a degree. They'll increase them, but I don't think he could be a workhorse with all the injuries he had last year, and he's still kind of smallish. So that's the difference. Where
he'd be RB5 for me,
right? And that's like 1-2 turn, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'd probably take him just after Jonathan Taylor, right? That's how you would do it.
I actually dropped Taylor behind Barkley, so I would take him ahead of those guys.
Okay. So who's RB? Oh, Gibbs would be 4. Okay, right. So, I got you. McCaffrey, Hall, Bijan, Gibbs, and then you'd go Achane in that scenario. Mm-hmm. But you agree he shouldn't be drafted in the 2nd round right now?
No.
Yeah. That's it. That's Jamie. I'm Adam. Talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today in 5.